Well, hello. It's been about a little shy of 2 weeks since the last show and tell. We've got a little net that we put up on the two ends of the house to keep the resident hound dog out, but that's just part of doing what you do. But anyway, these are the Cherokee Purples. They're an heirloom variety. They're putting on fruits. We are kind of counting on having these come in the next couple, 3 weeks. If you look at the date on the video, that'll give you a better idea as to what today is and when they come in. I'll just keep updating this every week or so to show you what's going on. Every time we come in here, we prune back, doing our best to get them up off the ground. If there's any that are really down low, sometimes we'll truss them up a little bit. But typically, you want to keep the fruit off the ground so it doesn't get gobbled up by any critters or diseases or pathogens that may be in the soils, which there always are some. Anyway, this one right here I think is going to have a short life. It has something that I'm calling curly top, and it comes from I believe from some flying insects. It just affects one plant here or there. When we do transplants, we take some of the cuttings and restart them, and I'll show you a couple of those up ahead here. These are the Cherokee Purples. Some people call them ugly tomatoes. They ugly, but they good. And some of these are really putting on the fruit. Continue down. That goes as far as the eye can see down that way. We have some crims, black crims. We've got some yellow, no, I think they're called a Valencia, orange Valencias. And then about 15 plants, and then starting right about over here, we start with the cherry tomatoes. And these are starting to come in real well. This was a transplant, coming along real nice. Some of these I've trussed up. They're putting on some fruit. And I think this plant right here, I measured it out. And if you count where the root goes down into the soil, that's about 6 feet in 5 weeks. And you might wonder what we're doing to these things to get them to grow like this. And really it's trying to keep it symbiotic. We did some soil prep just for a top fill. We dug some post holes to set each plant in the ground. And humic acid is one thing, which is a super fine form of compost. Anyway, so the next couple, 3 weeks, we should see some harvesting really happening. Did I say really enough times? So here we got some French marigolds starting to put on flower to attract some of the beneficials. Let me jump across here. These are the Amish paste. These are just super long Roma style, and I like them better than the San Marzanos. I think they're easier to grow. It's an heirloom variety, and it makes an incredible paste, incredible taste. These are some of the fruit sets, and they're coming on really strong. And these are, if you count with the stem that's in the soil, when they come up to here, they're pushing 4 feet, maybe a little bit more. And these will go all the way up. And then the lower branches, any of the branches that are below the fruit are basically non-contributors. And what we'll do is, like when these ripen out, we'll snip that branch, we'll come up a little higher, and once we get about 2 feet of bare stem, all these fuzzies along the stalk are potential roots. So as soon as those lay down, they'll get covered with some fresh compost and soil, and they'll put out more roots, and they will continue to grow. Ain't that something? So here we're walking on top of about, I don't know, I think some of it could be a full 6 inches of wood chips. And it's keeping all the weeds down beautifully. Keeps the soil temperature from spiking. Let you look at these. We don't want a whole lot of leaf. Too much leaf and you're not producing tomatoes. So also too much leaf and no fruit sets, that shows you have too much nitrogen in your soil. So I think we're at a pretty good balance. Somebody asked me, he goes, how'd you learn how to do this? I said, well, my first stint when I was about, I think I was right about 29 or 30 years old, up in western Massachusetts in the Berkshires, I ran into a guy named David Inglis, a British bloke. And turns out that farm, it was a CSA. It's the first recognized CSA in the United States. Even though that is not 100% correct, it's a close second. And it is a full, well, it was, it's been closed down now, but for about almost 20 years, it was a full-on biodynamic farm. And biodynamics is you create your own soil nutrients from the property. And it involves different types of tinctures, teas, worm teas, compost, etc. And I try the best I could here to implement those practices. For me, it's almost a religion. Anyway, right there, if you see those little spindly things, that's dill, and that's a sacrificial plant. As is the basil that goes along the outside walls of the greenhouse. And as we cut and get orders ready to send out, we're going to throw some basil in there so you can either use it, eat it, or throw it away, but it's a beautiful garnish either way. Here's an example. We had one of these Better Boys get a curly top on it, so we actually took a sucker that we cut off one of the other plants, and Margot just stuck it right in the ground, and it's taken root. That was just from 2 days ago, and we have a string waiting for that to give it some guidance. But anyway, that's our thing. This is the crop coming in. Here's a few. They're all setting fruit. Everything's real nice. Probably, every day that I come in here, I remark at how healthy these plants are doing, and I am in awe and grateful. It is really something to see. We keep our beach chairs down there, past my wagon there, and it's always good to remember to sit and look at what happens in nature. It's just beautiful, just beautiful. Yeah, That's what I'm talking about. Can't wait to have a sandwich. Make some sauce. You name it. You name it. Some of these that we're looking at now were planted about 2 weeks. 2 weeks later than this side of the greenhouse, just because of the availability of the plants. And but they're coming in super strong. We're taking about I don't know, today in these 2 center rows, we took about 4 5-gallon buckets just worth of trimmings, just to prune them. And it really doesn't look like we hit them very hard at all. These Amish paste, they have these long droopy branches, and they almost look like they're a little bit light on foliage, and they're not. This is just the way they grow. But you only want just enough foliage to give the fruit some shade so we don't get sun scald. And but it helps to have the lower branches cut off. Like this one wasn't done yet. These 2 lower branches I would just clip off, and it allows more air to get underneath. Humidity is not your friend, and in South Carolina you got a lot of enemies that way. The bugs, the fungus, everything likes it. But today we found 2 stink bugs in 300 plants, and I caught those. And then Margot found a handful, maybe 3 or 4 of tomato worms, and those were just tiny little critters. So today we did a foliar application of cayenne pepper, diatomaceous earth. What else did we put in that? Oh, and a little bit of soap to wet the leaves, coats the leaves a little bit better. Plants don't mind it at all. It doesn't bother anything. Doesn't hurt the beneficials, the beneficial insects. They keep pollinating, but if any critters get on there and start eating or sucking on the foliage, they don't like it. So it stops them from feeding. But anyway, if you looked at any of the other videos, the earlier videos, this is 5 weeks, maybe 5 weeks and a couple of days from initial planting. And we're just so happy with this. We're so happy with this. Anyway, phone number 843-540-2210 or 2214. Thank you.